Hello and welcome to another edition of The Stew with JT Brew. I'm your host, Justin Taylor. Alongside me tonight, I have Ben Dyer and Brian Toast Clark. We're bringing you Week 5 college betting action. Stick with us. You're in The Stew.
You up on trades and why you move, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so start an institute, make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sipping brew, sifting through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the Stew with JT Brew.
Welcome, one and all. Week 5 college football bets. It's feels crazy that we're this far into the season already, fellas. Week 5, we've seen, it's been an exciting season so far. We've seen some great action here over the first couple weeks of the season. Before we kind of start breaking down Week 5, let's go back and just chat it up a little bit about some Week 4 action. Benny, fellas, some of the games we were on early on, we were liking Illinois on Friday night. The Illini, huge win in overtime over Nebraska. What'd you guys think about that one?
Man, big win. Biggest win for Illinois, road win in a long time. A couple of ranked teams. Man, I tell you what, I think that line got touched 10 at one point.
It got all the way up there, and
down.
I was like, I told you, if it was over 7, I liked it. If it got to 10, I loved it. It was a great spot to take Illinois. I just thought they had enough to stay in that game, and Colorado was so up for, or Nebraska was so up for that Colorado game. That's I kind of felt like they were just looking past the Illini just a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I thought, I don't know, we played with a lot of heart. I think, Altmaier looked great. That's probably, the best game I've seen him play. Obviously, it's not a lot of sample here, but man, he's way more athletic and nimble in the pocket, moves well, very accurate. He just played a really good game, I thought, and everybody did. So that was a big win. We'll see. They got some tough ones coming up, but it's kind of exciting for Illinois, though.
Hey, yep. Ben, I'll tell you, right, me and Ben were actually watching the game together, and JT won't hit on it too long, but that's the most confident I've ever seen Altmaier in a game in college, especially at Illinois. He was actually asking to go on 4th down. You could see actually he was just exuding confidence. That's not really the personality I've ever seen out of him before, so something's changed in him. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then just that huge Colorado game with the dropped Hail Mary at the end of the game to turn around and win it on the next play on a Hail Mary was freaking ridiculous. They got to OT, actually, the Hail Mary got them to OT, and then they ended up winning that one over OT. It was a gigantic one for me, as I had quite a few bets wrapped up in him going Colorado going over the mark, and then also Sanders plus 300. If you were on my JT parlay play of the day, I apologize. We missed that one. Sanders didn't get over the touchdowns. He actually had a rushing touchdown. I had him 2+ passing touchdowns. And so that one, he just missed on that one. But Hunter had the yards. He had the passing yards, just didn't get the touchdowns, which lost that one. Well, we'll get in a few more of these games, kind of discuss them a little bit as we bring up the stuff from last week, as we get into the games this week. Let's start it off with the Thursday night game. Army minus 13 at Temple. The over-under is 45.5. Not a lot of action going on as we're still waiting for the Maction to start up. I think is next week is when we get that action heading to us. So we might have some Tuesday night games at the end of them when we come on next week. But right now, Army's a minus 13. I'm liking Army. They're a slow tempo team. They pound the rock. But they are really good on defense. Played a really they just play tough. Third best in the country in stop rate on 3rd down. They're one of the better running teams in the country. And even though they don't throw a lot, they've been able to hit big pass plays when they've needed them. Temple finally got a win last week. I'm still not a believer in them. For me, if I'm jumping on this game, I want to get on Army at minus 13 before it gets to 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree with you. Temple's at home. Like you said, They had a good game, put up some points last week. You look at their opponents, though; they really haven't played anybody. I mean, I don't think Army's probably played too many tough ones either. But I mean, Rice is a decent team. FAU has had a couple tough games, so at least those are some teams that play some tough competition. Temple, yeah, I mean they could hang around. Total of 45, so it's not going to, it's going to be a fairly low scoring game. But I'm with you. I'm Army or nothing on this one probably.
Toast, you got any thoughts on this one?
Other than the fact that they went to FAU, I think everybody thought FAU would be a little bit better than they were this year. They're not very good at all. They went into FAU, beat them 24-7, and you end up having Noah Short, another running back, who ended up going for 11 for 160 yards in that game. So I wouldn't obviously expect him to duplicate that, but nevertheless, yeah, definitely like Army -13.
Yeah, I thought FAU would win that game or put up more of a fight. After I saw Army kind of just dominate them, I'm like, ooh, I think this Army team's a lot better than I've given them credit for. I really like them. They don't turn over the ball. They don't get tackled for losses. They don't get any penalties. I mean, They just play like you would expect an academy team to play. I'm not sold on Temple yet. I think Army goes in there and wins this one. Great Friday night matchup. Virginia Tech, who's been disappointing this year, at number 7, Miami. I said it on last week's show. You might as well just start taking Miami in the points every week. They are on a mission this year right now. It was 17 last week against South Florida. A little hesitation after South Florida played Alabama pretty tough earlier in the year.
Yeah.
No. That Miami smoked them 50-15, absolutely came out to play. It's 19.5 right now. Virginia Tech, after that opening season loss, which was my play of the week when they went down to Vanderbilt, I've lost confidence in Virginia Tech. I love Miami here at home on a Friday night game. I think they rolled this by 3 touchdowns. I'm getting on it early because I think it's going to get up to 21 or more as it gets closer to this game and people are looking for bets to make on Friday. I think they absolutely smoke them. They're 2-1 so far against the spread when they're double-digit favorites this year. They've only missed one of the spreads, and I think it was a 38-point spread, and they won by 36. So they've been putting up points on people. Cam Ward, if you're looking for a player prop bet in this, if you got your same game parlay going, grab Cam Ward over 300 passing yards. Grab Cam Ward 2+ touchdown passes. Some of these games are making you take it 3+ touchdown passes. Wow. Even if you have to get to the 3, I'm taking the 3. He has been an absolute beast for Miami, and he looks like a guy playing for his draft stock. He specifically went to Miami to try to up his draft stock, and he has done that. I think he continues to roll. Damian Martinez hasn't been great so far for Miami, even though I love him as a running back. They just haven't really needed him. It's not like he's had to do a ton. I think he's got a big breakout game coming here somewhere. So I think that possibly could be one too. So I would be looking for that as a same game parlay. Maybe even if you don't like the 19.5, get it down to maybe 17, and then take the Cam Ward over passing yards, over touchdown passes. Had that last week. He cleared that easily once again.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This is Miami. Virginia Tech they're just not as good as people thought before the season started. I mean, a lot of people were high on Virginia Tech going into the season, and I was one of them. And yeah, after having actually seen them play some real competition, they're just not as good as we thought they were going to be. And Miami has far exceeded, I think, expectations. I mean, people were kind of riding Miami a little bit, but I don't think, they've just been rolling teams. So I'm with you. It's Miami here. I think this thing opened up on Monday at like 16.5.
Oh, I know. It's moving up quickly. That's what I'm saying. Get on now before it gets to 21 because this thing's moving up quick. And just some Cam Ward numbers for you if people are wondering why I'm liking Cam Ward. 404 and 3 touchdowns last week against South Florida, 346 and 5 touchdowns the week before against Ball State, 304 and 3 touchdowns against Florida A&M, and then at Florida in the opener, 385 and 3 touchdowns. So he's clearing 303 touchdowns every game this season. I am hammering that bet for him. I love that. I'm taking those. I'm taking the touchdowns, the yards, and I'm taking the points. I think Miami wins this one by at least 3 touchdowns.
Hey, JT, that may end up being the play of the week. All right. So, yeah, now that you actually mentioned that with Cam Ward, I guess you took the words right out of my mouth with the over 300 yards and over 2.5 touchdowns. that'll be pretty much
if you can
free
get
money.
2.5, that's
if
perfect.
they offer
if not,
it. If they offer it.
if not, you're gonna do the 3+ and you'll be good there, and that hits. So I'm loving that one. The other one we got a newly formed Big Ten game. Rutgers against Washington. Rutgers at home -2.5. Over under is 44.5. You guys, what are you seeing in this game? A Friday night, late night game. Washington's got to travel cross country to New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, Rutgers has been impressive. I mean, they close game against Virginia Tech last week, but I don't know, man. They're just one of those teams that kind of like Army. They're almost like an academy school. They don't turn the ball over. They don't screw up. They know what they are. They play defense, and they're just a team that I think is always going to be in the game. You know what I mean? Regardless of who they're playing, they're going to be in it. They're at home. Like you said, Washington's got to go across the country. I think Washington's a pretty good football team, but this is going to be a pretty close game. I mean, 2.5. That's probably about right in my opinion. I'll probably just stay away because anything could happen. I think at the end of this game.
Yeah, I think this one's a close one. I think the 2.5's right. If I had to lean, I'd take Rutgers to win this one at home with Washington traveling across the country. Yep. Washington is not the same team as they were last year. They lost all their firepower, low scoring games most of the season. I think this 44 is good. Man, this number was like 2 or 3 points higher like 2 days ago. It was like 46.5, 47. So everybody's jumping on the under. I kind of like the under as well in this one. I would, if I hit a 2-team parlay, I'd maybe see if I move that line up a little bit, take the under, and then take Rutgers at a money line. Yep. I would be kind of where I lean in that, and I would probably run. Meninga, the running back for Rutgers. If I could get him over rushing yards in that one, depending on what you could get his number at, would be maybe a little three pick parlay for me in that one.
JT took the words right out of my mouth, man. So yeah, definitely the under. If you could actually tease it up, parlay it with something else. So that looks like to be the play.
Let's jump into the Saturday games. Let's start things nuts. Let's stay in the Big Ten here. We got Minnesota at Michigan, -9 Michigan. Over under way low on this one. It's 36 right now. Michigan obviously coming off the huge home win against USC after getting beat by Texas the week before. Minnesota, solid start to the season. 2-2 for them. Tough loss last week, 31-14. So you're right at that 35-36 point spread as Iowa put it to them. Minnesota got enough to stay in this game, or are you guys all over Michigan after they had a nice little bounce back against USC in a 27-24 win?
I still don't really trust Michigan. I mean, I watched that game, and Michigan, yeah, they won, but it wasn't that convincing. They had a lot of things go their way in that game. And I'm not saying it was a phony win, but it sure didn't feel like, not like a Michigan kind of win either. And they just can't throw the ball, man. They just can't. So I know Minnesota, I mean, the total in this game is 35.5. I mean, it's going to be
low. If it was like 45, I'd be like, okay, I'm kind of leaning towards the under here, but like 36. Oh my gosh, it's so low.
So I mean, anytime you get a total that low, it tempts me to take the dog and a total that low too, because it's like, what's it going to be? I mean, I don't know. Michigan at home, man. I don't know. This is the kind of game, 11 o'clock kick. It's going to be a close game. I just feel it. I don't
like it at all. I just think Minnesota could stay within a score, but I also could see their offense just doing absolutely nothing against Michigan. Yeah. And then we get an ugly game, and then you end up getting like a 17-0 game, and it ends up going under, and you're like kicking yourself for not taking the under, but then you're going to be holding your breath the whole game, going like, oh, don't give up a score here. Oh, don't throw a big six. Like, I think I just don't trust these teams right now. This game really should be a Michigan cover here, but I don't know if I trust them enough at this point. I mean, they only beat Arkansas State 28-18 at home. So it's like even if they dominate the game, you can absolutely see where, a backdoor cover from Minnesota. They're out 17-0 the whole game. They throw in a score with like a minute left and they go for 2. And it's 17-8 or something, ridiculous. So, I just don't think I can do it. Toast, you like anything in this, or is this an avoid for you as well?
No, I'm all on Michigan.
Are you?
And the reason,
Nice. Okay.
here's the deal: is James Madison good? Right. So I'll ask that because North Carolina actually they gave up 70 to James Madison. All right, and North Carolina they lost that game at home to I'm sorry, they lost. Sorry, the Gophers actually lost at home to North Carolina 19-17 to start the season. I get it, very first game of the season, but I just don't think the Gophers going to put up a whole lot of points here. This is their first road game of the season. Michigan's now actually kind of believing after the fact that they got just off to the unbelievably awful and just embarrassing start. They're going to find the run game. I like Michigan in the -9.
I can see it.
I feel like that should be the pick. It's just like I don't have
think it's
enough
gold.
confidence in Michigan. I
Tease
like that.
it
I
down.
love that your confidence, Toast. I love this confidence in
Tease
that.
it
Right,
down.
you got it. Let's stick with another Big Ten game here. Benny, this was your Plums call of the week a couple weeks ago. Indiana -6.5 at home against Maryland. 3-1 Maryland, 4-0 Indiana. We got a 7-1 combined ball game here. 6.5 for Indiana, over under 54.5. Benny, you sticking with the Hoosiers?
Man, I think the Hoosiers have covered every game this year. I could have been Plums on Indiana all season, and we'd be a cover machine. But yeah, I think Maryland's a pretty good team. But man, Indiana has just played so well. It's what do we got? What is it? 7.5?
It's 6.5, 7, depending on where you're at right now.
7.
If you're currently sitting on DraftKings, it's -7. It was 6.5 just before we jumped on the show. So if that's a game you like and you want to try to get her a touchdown, you could just kind of keep an eye on that sucker, and whenever it kicks up or down, just a half a point, you could jump on that one. I definitely like Indiana at -6.5. I think they can win by a touchdown.
Yeah,
This does feel like one of those games that Maryland somehow plays, a solid game and sticks in it. I mean, they lost 27-24 at home to Michigan State, and I actually think Indiana is quite a bit better than Michigan State, honestly, this year.
I think so.
So this one's what makes me lean to Indiana. This Indiana crowd, there's usually no one at these games. Everybody's tailgating. No one's in the stadium, but they're going to be fired up here going into this game. I mean, you got a team, Rourke, the transfer, over 1,000 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions so far to start off the year. And if they can win this game, in all honesty, you then are at Northwestern next week, a bye week, and you got Nebraska at home. That would be a huge game for Indiana. We get Nebraska at home. I think they bring it this week. I think the crowd, home crowd, is ready to roll. They won 52-14 after the win at UCLA. You thought if they had a little bit of a letdown, maybe it would be last week, and they came out and rolled anyway. I think they can get this one by a touchdown. I want to see it at 6.5 if I can get it, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, JT. Considering if they win this game again, a very winnable game, Northwestern, and then actually coming home versus a Nebraska team who is good, but again, a home game, and then Washington as well. So, I mean, this is going to be the biggest crowd they've actually had in a long time. This could end up being biggest game of the season, considering if they can actually, because at the end they have Michigan, they got Ohio State. They're in the last 2 of the last 3 games. I mean, this can define their season.
Yeah, this team's got a shot at making a bowl game now and actually finishing pretty good. So you got to be fired up if you're an Indiana fan for this. So I think they keep it rolling at least for this week. Here's my straight cover team that I've been taking every week, and it's Ole Miss, number 6 at home against Kentucky. What Kentucky team shows up is the question. Ole Miss right now sitting at 17.5. Over under is 53. Ole Miss along with Miami has kind of just been my take them and cover team every week because that's just what they've been doing. 17.5. Oh man, I feel like it should be more, and it's got me a little bit like, oh man, am I overthinking this? I mean, we did see Kentucky just lose 13-12 to Georgia. That's why I say, what Kentucky team are we getting? The 31-16 that lost at home to South Carolina, the team that played Georgia tough 13-12, and then they won 41-6 against Ohio last week. Mississippi's just been running people with their 76-0, 52-3, 40-6, and 52-13 so far this year. I mean, they just absolutely hammering people. The fact that this is at 17, I love that it's under 21, I have to tell you. Maybe Kentucky comes in here and plays solid. I don't think I believe it. I really don't, man. I thought Georgia just played an absolute terrible game. Not that Kentucky played great against them. I think Mississippi rolls this one. I'm going to try to get it at 17 just in case. Even if I have to go in and buy a half a point, I think I'll do it. But I think this is a 3-touchdown win for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is Ole Miss. I think the Kentucky game was more about Georgia than it was about Kentucky. I think Georgia was, it was just one of those spots for Georgia where you kind of have a letdown week. You just don't play a very good game. Kentucky is, it's their Super Bowl. They got Georgia coming in, and I think that game was a little bit more about Georgia not being ready than anything. And Mississippi, they just do what they do. I mean, they regardless of who they're playing and what type of defense they're playing against, they got the quarterback, they got the speed, they've got the wide receivers, and they just go. I don't think Kentucky can keep up.
Yeah, JT, and I'll actually tell you as well. This is definitely love the 17.5. Heck, I even like the under for some reason because you just don't really think that Kentucky's going to score a lot of points. And Kentucky got up for Georgia big time. Dart, they better end up offering those over 3 touchdown passes and over 300 yards of offense or of passing. If they don't, I hate DraftKings. That's ridiculous. Ole Miss has the best uniforms in college football. That's awesome as well. But if you look at Ole Miss's schedule coming up, this is one, obviously they'll end up pumping Kentucky pretty good because they go to South Carolina and then they got a gauntlet coming up as well. All right. So this is maybe the last chance you have for Dart to put up just huge big numbers. I just think that I agree with Ben. I think that 13-12 loss at home versus Georgia, that was just an anomaly for Kentucky. That's just my thought. Georgia took it way too lightly, watched an entire game, had a lot of money on that game, end up losing it. I just think Ole Miss they're going to destroy this team.
I think Ole Miss is ready to rock this year. I really do. I think the schedule looked harder than it did at the beginning of the year. It looked harder than it does now. That South Carolina might be their second toughest game of the year.
Yeah.
I think they rock Kentucky. South Carolina at South Carolina could be a little toughy. I tell you what, we'll talk about it in a little bit. I hate LSU. Man, I hate LSU so bad right now. They suck. Oklahoma after that.
They've won you a lot of money, JT, right?
Oh, they're just crushing me. Oklahoma is not been good. They've already made a quarterback change. Arkansas is better than we thought they'd be, but they're still Arkansas. I mean, Georgia coming up. That's the game. That's a game for Ole Miss. And then they got Florida, Mississippi State. Those should be wins. I'm loving Ole Miss. I'm sticking true to what I said. I'm just taking recover every week. If you can take the Jackson Darts yards and touchdowns, do it. For some insane reason, they had them for yards but no touchdowns last week.
They screwed
I
us.
was pissed about that because I took him in the yards but not touchdowns. So you're going to have to take the 300 yards, but he's been money on that this year. 418 and 5 touchdowns, 377 and a touch, 377 and 2 touchdowns, and 382 and 4 touchdowns. Wow. If they're giving me 302 or 3+ touchdowns, I'm taking it. Jackson Dart, they want him in the Heisman talk. They want to be in the national championship talk. They're just going to keep pumping teams. I love Mississippi in this one. I love Jackson Dart. Get on the yards. If they give you touchdowns this week, get on it. I have no idea why they didn't give touchdowns last week.
Well, because they're smart. That's why.
Next game for us on the slate. This one is a toss-up for me. I really went back in this fourth in this one. Number 20, Oklahoma State at number 23, Kansas State. 4.5 points for Kansas State right now. Over under 55.5. The line has moved on this quite a bit. It was started lower, and then people have jumped on Kansas State. At first, when I saw the line at 4.5, it made me want to take Oklahoma State because I feel like these two teams are pretty well matched. But as I've been looking at it, this feels like one of those spots where the Wildcats put it together. They're at home. The crowd's going to be pumped. They just lost in the most weird freaking late night game last week at BYU, where BYU had just a bunch of fluky touchdowns and scored way more points than they probably should have per the yardage they put up. I just feel like this is a bounce back game for Kansas State. Oklahoma State had a shot to win a really nice one at home against Utah and lost a close one there. Benny, is it 4.5 too much? Do you like Oklahoma State closer, or do you think that Kansas State comes out and really puts it to them here at home?
Man, I'm on Kansas State on this one. I just am. I watched some of that game last week, Oklahoma State, in Utah, and I don't know. I mean, I think Utah's a pretty tough team, but I don't know. Kansas State's been super impressive, and they've played some good teams. I know BYU beat them last week, but I think BYU's a lot better than people think. They're both coming off a loss, so both teams are going to be, 100% in. It's going to be an all-in type of game for both teams. You're not going to get a sleepy spot from either one of them, but I just think Kansas State's better. I think 4.5 is a tough one to cover because it literally could be a field goal game, but I'm not. I'm kind of out on OSU this year.
I agree. Bit. I think other than the 45-10 Tulsa win,
yeah,
they've been pretty ugly. They've had a lot of ugly games. Like they had to play out of their mind to come back and win that game against Arkansas. Arkansas had them on the ropes. Yep. Then they lost at home in the 3-pointer to Utah. I just feel like Kansas State gets it right this week against them. So I'm on Kansas State this week. The 4.5 scared me at first. It really did a little bit. I was thinking maybe this is a field goal game, but I have more confidence in Kansas State to win by a touchdown than I do Oklahoma State to cover.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
Another Big Ten game, Wisconsin at USC, number 13 USC, 15.5 right now, over under 50.5. I don't know what you think about this one, Benny. I wanted to take USC real bad in this game. I do not trust Wisconsin at all this year. 15.5 is starting to really get up there in points for me. I don't think Wisconsin's that bad as they just got trounced at home by Alabama 42-10 last week. But you look at what Wisconsin has done. It hasn't really been pretty. I mean, they've got a 28-14 win against Western Michigan and a 27-13 win against South Dakota, and then a 32-point loss to Wisconsin at home. USC coming off the tough home loss to Michigan, 48-0 over Utah State. Got the big 27-20 win against LSU in the opener that I think is looking worse by the day with LSU. I would love to get this thing under 14 and take it as a 2-touchdown USC game. I don't think that anyone is going to start pounding the rock for pounding the number for Wisconsin to get to go down. Do you think USC can get this one done by 3 scores?
I'm not sure. Wisconsin's actually coming off a bye. So the Alabama game was 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure that really matters. But USC is coming off of, a tough road game, and they got to come back home. And I think they're thinking we just got to get this win and move on. So I'm not sure it's going to be the type of game where they go nuts and just cover easy, But at the same time, I mean, Wisconsin I don't think they're very good. And I think they're trying to run an offense that doesn't really fit what they're good at either. They're doing they're chucking it around, they're spreading people out. That's, to me, it doesn't seem to be working, and it doesn't look like Wisconsin, but I think Wisconsin would have a better chance of covering if they were old school Wisconsin here. But I probably stayed away from this one, honestly.
So, you got any thoughts on Wisconsin USC here?
Yeah, as a novice bettor at college football, the body of work for either team's not very impressive early on. I agree with Ben. Definitely something to stay away from. You have no idea what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I really wanted to take USC when I first looked at this, and the more I looked at it,
too high.
This feels like it's too many points. I just don't love it. Another game that's a real interesting game that I'm not 100% sure I know how I feel about these teams is number 15 Louisville at number 16 Notre Dame. Notre Dame right now a 6-point favorite. Over under is 46.5. I think Notre Dame's the better team in this one, but Louisville's defenses look pretty solid. Notre Dame has proven they cannot pass the football. They have not looked great throwing the ball here. I feel like this should be a Notre Dame touchdown win, but we already saw them lose at home to Northern Illinois earlier this year. And Louisville, again, I'm not sure what this team is yet. If you look at their schedule, who they played, they got a 62-0 win in the opener against Austin Peay, came back and beat Jacksonville State 49-14, and then a nice win, but a win where didn't play great, but they got the win 31-19 against Georgia Tech. The offense has been okay. They've had some injuries that kind of slowed down the offense. The defense is really what has kind of impressed me from them. If I had to go anything here on this, guys, I kind of think I would want to take the under. It's 46.5, so it's not very high. But I think both these teams have pretty good defenses, and I think running the ball is the way to go, especially for Notre Dame. If they're going to win, they want to try to keep the ball away from Louisville. What's your lean on this game?
I'm leaning Notre Dame, and I think it's Notre Dame. They got back on track. This one's a little bit of home cooking for them here. They get to come home. I think Louisville is a pretty decent team, but they kind of beat a kind of a beat up Georgia Tech team. And the first 2 games of the year were nobody's pretty much. Notre Dame's, they lost to Northern, but they've played some tough games and they absolutely trounced Purdue. I don't know. I'm going to make this one the plums, as a matter of fact, because I kind of feel it. I can feel it. And I'm going to take Notre Dame -6.
I'll ask you guys 2 questions here, or maybe just one question. All right. And Ben, I agree with you. It should be the plums play of the week. If Notre Dame actually hadn't lost to Northern at home, what would you be doing here?
Well, this line would be like 13.
Right.
I agree.
And we know that's an abomination. And they come back versus Purdue, and Purdue's no good. We know that.
No.
66-7.
Yeah.
They're like, that's not who Notre Dame was versus Northern Illinois. This -6, get it why it's -6 before it's actually -7. That's a gimme. And that's probably the plums of the week, like you said, Ben.
Yeah, it's an official. It's on the board. The Benny D. I feel deep in the plums pick of the week. Put it on the board. Notre Dame. I was like, yeah, I feel like Notre Dame is the better team. I should definitely take this now after talking it through. I think I'm definitely taking it. I think you're right. I think if they don't lose that game at Northern, this is a 2-touchdown game.
Oh yeah.
I think Notre Dame. I think they are what they are. They're not going to blow anybody out other than that Purdue game where they just came to bring it.
Right.
But 28-3, they just handled Maryland last week. Or excuse me, not Maryland, Miami of Ohio in that game. Just they couldn't get anything going offensively. The defense looked good. Riley Leonard, not known for the rushing ability, 143 and 2 touchdowns on the ground last week. So I think, I think Notre Dame is kind of figuring out who they are. I think they realize, like, hey, I know we got Riley Leonard, but we can't just go back there and chuck the ball all over the field. I think you're right. I think Notre Dame puts it to them this week. I think Louisville's a solid team. Yeah. I just don't think they've played anybody yet. And I think, Georgia Tech just did not play great in that game. And I think Georgia Tech's a solid team, but I think that's where Louisville's at. I think Louisville's a solid team. I don't think they're great.
Right.
Next one on the list for us here. Fresno State at UNLV, -3.5 for UNLV, over under 50.5. UNLV's kind of been our bet. We've jumped on them quite a few times so far this year. They've looked very solid. Fresno State's had a tough early season schedule. What do you guys got to lean in this one way or the other?
Well, what they did, they beat New Mexico. Okay. Was New Mexico State is so bad.
Yep. They went.
Yeah.
UNLV's coming off a nice win, which we took we took UNLV over Kansas, and they got that win at Kansas 23-20. They beat Houston in the opener 27-7. Another game that we had UNLV as the dog and covered, and then they won 72-14 over Utah Tech. On the other side of Fresno State, they lost 30-10 to Michigan in the opener, came back 46-30 winners over Sacramento State, then beat a very bad New Mexico State team 48-0, and then played New Mexico and won 38-21 over New Mexico. So they've taken down both those teams. This feels like a really close game. UNLV has been fantastic on the ground. They've been one of the they're 10th in the nation in EPA per rush. They've really run the ball well. Sluka, they haven't really opened things up. So I'm not sure if it's just because they're like, hey, we haven't had to yet. So we're kind of holding back yet. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here. To me, I'm leaning UNLV at home here. But the 3.5, it's been bouncing back and forth. Obviously, I'd love to get UNLV at the 3 if I can.
Yeah, I'm probably staying away. This is a tough one. This is the first time UNLV's, favored by 3. I know they're at home, but I think Fresno's a pretty good team. It's a big game for both these teams. I mean,
huge game in the Mountain West.
If Fresno can go in there and steal this one, I mean, that puts them in the driver's seat. I don't know. I'd probably, if I was going to do something, I'd probably take the Fresno State, maybe just do a money line and like throw them in as part, because I do think they could go in there and win that game. But
yeah, this one at 2:30 has me a little nervous. I kind of wish it was a later game.
That's
it's an afternoon game.
That feels like a 8 p.m., 8:30.
Yeah, it should be like an 8 o'clock kick, and we'd be all over this game. But it's 2:30 Central Time. It's going to be 1:30 Mountain Time, and then 12:30 West Coast time. It's like, man, early. Those games out there that early. Yeah, that makes me. It does make me lean that it might be a little ugly. So that's maybe where I'm like, all right, maybe UNLV run the ball is a little bit better in that situation.
That's true.
That is a tough one to take. I think that's going to be a very good contest.
Yes. What do you think, Toast?
Toast, are you in on that game at all?
The only thing I'll say about this game is the fact that if you won an early bet and you started drinking early, this would be a game like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to put some money on this and win. I agree with Ben. This is a stay away game. This is a game where you're going to lose money and you're going to look back and be like, how did UNLV lose? Well, it's a game you should have never bet in the first place. That's it.
True.
I mean, hey, we've done it a bunch of times, right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
This is a game that got pretty good hype at the beginning of the year. Now it doesn't look as sexy as it did at the beginning of the year. Liberty -3.5 at Appalachian State, over under 61.5. Liberty, is a team that I picked as an outside shot to make the 12-team playoff. The fact that they could go undefeated and get in as the highest ranked team, not in one of the major conferences. Ugly start for them so far, barely getting by New Mexico State, and an 18-point win against UTEP, and then an 11-point win last week against East Carolina. They're playing Appalachian State, who's been disappointed. They get absolutely worked by Clemson, ended up getting a 2-point win at East Carolina. And then I had them last week when they played early against South Alabama. And I was way off on that one. South Alabama came out and put it to them 48-14. Appalachian State just looked like they've lost some of the muster. I know Liberty hasn't been good, but I'm leaning Liberty on this one at -3.5. I think it's time for them to start taking it up a notch, and I just think they have better athletes. They got a better quarterback, a better running back, and a better wide receiver. So for me, even though it's at Appalachian State, I'm taking Liberty in this one. 3.5 is tough because these teams, again, making me nervous. If I get it at 3, I feel a whole lot better at the 3, but that's currently where it's sitting.
Yeah, I've actually bet against Liberty the last 2 weeks. Liberty pulled a miracle cover last week. I thought they were going to lose that game, and so that kind of sucked for me. But
they've been lucky to cover almost every. I know the New Mexico State game they did not cover. They had to come back late to win that game. I can't remember exactly what the spread was on the UTEP game, but it was 24, I think. And they won by 18, so they didn't cover there. And then last week they came back and won by 11. I think we're 7.5, but they, like you said, they had to get a late score to cover that one.
Yeah, and they were down. I mean, they were down most of the game. So I don't know. I mean, you look at Liberty like 4-0, and I know they're supposed to be the best team in that conference, but I'm not sure they're as good as people thought. And honestly, I really don't. I mean, I know we kind of maybe threw them in some future bets, but I'm not sure I want to see Liberty in the playoff. I'm just like, I don't know, man. This team, they're going to go, whoever they play in the first round is just going to smoke them, So,
yeah, they went undefeated last year, but it's been an uphill climb for them so far this year.
Yep. So, but yeah, I'm probably out on this one, I think.
There's an interesting one. This is a team I've been on all year, and it's been, it's been a wild ride so far if you're a Colorado fan, but Colorado currently is a 15.5-point dog at Central Florida, over under 62.5. This game could get interesting. The weather is supposed to get possibly pretty iffy down in Florida with some hurricane weather, some pretty good chance of rain and wind down there. UFC has not been great against the pass, and that's the one thing Colorado can do. Now, does the weather crush Colorado? because they need to throw the ball around to stay in this game. And it's windy and rainy and they just can't make the plays. This one's got me tough. This one's gone up. Everybody's on Central Florida. I think it was 12.5 or 13 at the open. It's got all the way up to 15. If it wasn't for the rain, I like Colorado here. I don't know if they can necessarily win this game, but covering 2 touchdowns, I think they could do it. Now I'm very nervous about the way the weather is going to turn out here, as I've been on Colorado pretty much every week. They've covered for me every week, but Nebraska. But it's been a hard cover every week. They've put me through it. And then Shedeur Sanders over 300 yards passing and 2+ touchdowns every week has been a pretty much go-to, along with Justin Hunter over 100 yards receiving and anytime touchdown. Those have been phenomenal prop bets for me so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, 15.5 is a lot of points, man. I mean, Colorado, if there's one thing they can do, it's score, And like you said, I if it turns into a weather game, especially if it's wind, I would stay away from Colorado because that affects them way more than it does UCF. But otherwise, that's a lot of points to be given a team that's that explosive, offensively. So I would lean Colorado unless we know there's going to be a weather situation there.
Yeah, JT, and I'll tell you right now, if it's not the weather, the over 63.5 looks pretty darn good. But I can't trust Colorado to go on the road, especially at a I mean, they are a plus 14.5. Okay. So money line, definitely not, but the cover, sure. Okay. I can definitely see a cover, but I would think this is going to be a shootout. The over is the best play in this game. You just can't trust Colorado going on the road.
Yeah, I saw a couple numbers that were like, this game maybe should be in the high 50s. And so it's gotten up to 62, 63. But I definitely could see that happening. Yeah, like I said, the weather always a factor. It always makes me a little nervous here. But I think I'm just.
You think it actually have to be out of the area by then. I mean, we're supposed to get up here in Illinois on Sunday. We're supposed to get hurricane rain up here on Sunday. So you'd think that it should be a non-factor by then. On Saturday, anyway.
Yeah. So there should be some rain as long as the wind doesn't get crazy. I think you could be all right. Number 1 Texas. Are you guys on number 1 Texas? Looks like Arch Manning is possibly getting the start again. I was on him over passing yards, 275 last week. He only hit 254. They're 38.5 point favorite, over under 62.5 at home against Mississippi State. This should be a easy Texas win, but do they put it to Mississippi State and cover the 38.5?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I say that, but I guess did they cover? They end up covering.
So far, Texas is 52-0 over Colorado State, 31-12 over Michigan, 56-7 over University of Texas San Antonio, and then 51-3 last week over University of Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah, I mean, at home, Mississippi State's not good at all. This is one you might look at the first half. It might be one of those games where they just throttle them in the first half and then take their foot off the gas a little bit.
I like that, Penny. I agree. They did lose 41-17. Mississippi State did lost 41-17 at home to Toledo. So that's always just something. And Toledo not quite as good as they've been in the past. I think you're right. Maybe that first half bet is the way to go. I think in the past where you knew Arch was going to come in for you were like, okay, well, they're going to bring him in. They're not just going to bring him in to hand off the ball. They're going to keep throwing. But now when he's starting, are they going to keep doing that with the next guy that comes in? And they're 30.5. Man, that should be a cover. They should hammer that. But I think you're right. I think if I can get a first half bet at like 27.5, 28.
I guess it wouldn't be that low.
And they put it up high in the first quarter or first half and get way up on them. I definitely could see myself taking that.
Yeah, I'm actually going straight prop bet on this one here. You would think that Arch Manning, if you can get over 2 touchdown passes at probably minus 700 and get Bond as a touchdown catch as well at minus 200. You can get it plus. You can get it close to plus money. That's going to happen. I just 38.5. I don't care who you're playing. That's in conference. That's a lot. That's a lot, man. So and I understand it's college football. It's not actually pro football. It's an offensive game, but nevertheless, that's a crap ton. So I mean, it would make me nervous to bet 38.5.
We got the game of the week this week. Number 2, Georgia, minus 1.5 at number 4, Alabama, over under 48.5. As we talked about earlier, Georgia, that terrible game against Kentucky, one of their worst. Alabama has looked solid so far with the new coaching staff. This one's going to be an interesting one, boys. Both teams 3-0 coming in. Big fight here. Alabama, like you guys, is coming off the bye week after crushing Wisconsin. Georgia coming off the bat. I'm a little shocked at this one that Bama is a 1.5-point dog at home, coming off Georgia with the absolute 13-12 terrible game against Kentucky. A little shocked that they're getting the points here. What do you guys think? Does Georgia have the big bounce back? Can they go into Tuscaloosa and get this victory?
Give me Georgia. This line is smelly, dude. You got Bama at home, and they're a dog. I mean, when was the last time Bama was a dog at home to anybody? I mean,
maybe, I'd have to look that up. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
So if you're telling me Vegas is gonna have Georgia as a favorite on the road, I gotta go with Georgia here. And they're coming off a bye, and they're also coming off a game that they played a stinker. So it was like the best of both worlds for them. They played an absolute stinker, still won. So the coaching staff can still go, and just be up their ass the whole week for the bye week, because look at how bad you guys played. We got Alabama coming up. I don't know, man. I'm going to ride Georgia on this one, I think.
I would, Alabama at home. I mean, Ben said it. I mean, when have they actually been home dogs versus anyone? I don't care if it ends up being Georgia at all. The best play of this is the under, considering you have so many pro players on that field at that time, especially on the defensive side of the football. It's going to play like a pro style game. If you're under 45, whatever it ends up being, love that. Love Alabama at home. Just think about it. Them losing at home is pretty rare. So go ahead and take Alabama, and go ahead and throw any prop bet with Jalen Milroe as well. So if you can get those 3, I'm sure you could probably get it like plus 500-600. Think about how many times that hits with Alabama, right? I mean, I don't care who you're playing. The majority of the time, that's probably a 75% hit rate.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I don't. This is not the most credible source in the world, but I'm seeing quite a few things that are saying Alabama. The last time they were a home underdog was 2007 against LSU.
That's all you need to know.
Wow, 2007. Who?
If they're giving you plus money, that's all you need to know.
Who were the quarterbacks in that game? Does it say?
That's a good question. 2007. Who would that be?
Yeah, God, it's probably people we've forgotten all about.
Crap, we were just out of college back in 2007. It's been a while. That's been a while. Who was on there at that time? So.
How about a Milroe touchdown run? How about Alabama to cover in the under?
Oh, there you go. A little parlay from Toast, a little Toast takes. I like it on that one. We got another one in the Big Ten. We'll throw it out as we're getting here the last couple games before we call it a night tonight. We've got number 3 Ohio State, 23.5-point favorite at Michigan State. The over/under is 48.5. I'm liking the Buckeyes in this one. I know it's a lot of points. I just don't think Michigan State's very good. I think they're young, and I love this Ohio State defense. I just think they shut this team down. I'd really like to take the under, but I'm worried that Ohio State will kind of pile up some points as well. So I think I'm taking Ohio State here. I keeping it under 24. I think they go to Michigan State. I know in the past this has been kind of a scary spot for them. I just don't think Michigan State's got the juice this year.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Ohio State. I mean, to me, that even against a team like Marshall, I mean, they've pretty much not been tested at all. But I don't think Michigan State's very good. I'm with you on that. So it seems like a number they should be able to cover, and they probably haven't played their best game. I don't think they've put it together really completely either. I mean, considering the teams that they've played, they've pretty much just done whatever they wanted, Yeah, I don't know. I would be too scared to take Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's outscored their opponents 157-20 so far this year. And this is why I'm worried about the over-under of 48.5. Ohio State's won 52-6, 56-0, and 49-14. So every one of their games has gone over, and that's got me a little scared there. Even Michigan State, they won 27-24 against Maryland, lost won 16-10 against Florida Atlantic, won 40-0 over I think it was Prairie View A&M, and then lost last week in a close one, 23-19 at Boston College. I just think there's too much Ohio State, and I think their offense, it could just blow it up.
Actually, you're kind of talking me into the over. I'm kind of tend to say.
I know. It's like I think that I originally was thinking the under because I just don't love Michigan State's offense, but I mean, I could see Ohio State getting the over by themselves as they have in every game so far. 49 points last week against Marshall was their lowest output of the year, and that was just them by themselves in a 49-14 game. I could easily see another 49-14 game here. I'm going to take the points. I think Ohio State blows them out.
Yeah, JT, I'm going to go ahead and just write this game down. And this will be the game where you end up contacting us on Sunday and be like, I won 5 out of 6 legs, and this is the one that screwed me.
Yeah.
Because this has got like a 28 or a 31-10 written all over it. Where you just, again, it's Big Ten, man. It's Big Ten play. Ohio State's actually going to run to Michigan State. We understand they're not that great. Nevertheless, it's difficult to go on the road in Big Ten play and blow somebody out, especially in Michigan State, regardless of how down they are. Michigan State's if they're smart, they're going to want to slow this damn game down. They're going to actually want to run the football. A 31-10 game, right? And you're going to come back and be like, I won 5 out of 6 legs. That's what's going to happen. So stay away from this shit.
I could see it.
Hey, let's jump into number 19, Illinois. Don't say that very often. Number 19, Illinois at number 9, Penn State. 18-point favorite are the Nittany Lions right now, over under 47.5. Fellas, what is your confidence level headed in to Pennsylvania to play at Happy Valley against the Nittany Lions?
I mean, Penn State, pretty good. I mean, they're a pretty good team. Definitely going to be the best team Illinois has played to this point because Kansas proven to be not that great. I think Nebraska's a pretty good team. Not Penn State, though. But 18 is a big number, especially, the way Illinois has played on defense and the way Altmaier competed last week. And I think he's to the point where he really knows that offense. Like, he knows it. And you could, like Toast mentioned, the confidence he's shown last week. I mean, they didn't make a lot of mistakes, I think 18 is a lot of points right here. I'd like to think Illinois could go in there and give them a little scare. So I'd lean Illinois.
Hey, Ben, what was your Plums play of the week that we actually said?
I think it was Notre Dame, -6.
Yeah, I go ahead and just take Notre Dame -6 and then take Illinois plus 18.5, parlay them together, and that's a Plums parlay.
2 plums for 1. Taking the market.
Illinois' defense is pretty darn good. That's a hell of a lot of points. I don't care if they're going to the Happy Valley or not. That's a lot of points.
Yeah. Hey, no respect.
Yeah. No respect.
They played Penn State pretty tough at Penn State, so that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, that one's a toughie for me. And now I'm like, man, I think Illinois could be in that one. Penn State has a history of covering a lot of times. They didn't at home against Bowling Green earlier this year, and then absolutely waxed Kent State 56-0 last week. I think Illinois got just enough defense and just enough offense to kind of keep this game interesting. I don't know if they can pull it off, but I think they could stay in there. So I'm liking Illinois at the cover, the -18. A couple more games here. I don't know if you guys want to jump in this one or not. If you have feeling, I was going to do a shout out to Muhammad Seymour grad Bodie Reeder, entering the Hall of Fame last week. He is the offensive coordinator at Middle Tennessee State. He's taken on Memphis. Memphis, a 25.5-point favorite, over under 61.5. Memphis, I really like what they've done this year. Upset last week in their game. Navy really came out and played strong in that one. Djibouti Reader and the Middle Tennessee State, do they got a shot staying in this one, or do you think Memphis covers that 25.5?
Memphis has proven to be pretty solid. I can't say I followed Middle Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee's off to
a
tough start. 52-3 loss to Ole Miss, 49-21 to Western Kentucky, and then 45-17 last week to Duke. They did win in the opener, 35-25 against Tennessee, or 32-25 against Tennessee Tech. Memphis so far, they're 3-1. They've got a 40-0 win over North Alabama, the 38-17 win over Troy. Got the big upset at Florida State, 20-12. Was a nice win. As I actually was saying, man, I was like, I really wanted to take Memphis plus 9.5 to cover,
right.
And they ended up getting that win at Florida State, and then couldn't get the bounce back as man, Navy just was pounding the ball on the ground. Horvath, their running back, or excuse me, their QB, 211 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns, also 192 passing and 2 touchdowns. Just had a monster performance against that Memphis defense. So they got the 56-44 win in a game that was back and forth. I think Memphis has too much offense in this one. I think they can cut. I think they get the 26. Duke they just won by 28, so it's close. As Middle Tennessee State kept it within 28 there. So this one's a close one for me. I do think Memphis maybe gets this one done.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot on this one, but there's gonna be a lot of blue and gray in this game.
That's for sure.
Uniforms are gonna be tough to see the difference, but I don't know. Memphis, yeah, I mean, I can't see betting Middle Tennessee on the road to cover the number. So I'd probably be Memphis or nothing here.
Yeah. We're coming up on the hour here, so we will shut this one down. Here's just a few minutes. I was going to bring up the South Alabama at LSU game, and then I was trying to decide if I was going to get too angry to even talk about it.
I will say my late game this week, Washington State and Boise State's going to be an absolute shootout.
Nice.
The total is 65, and neither team can play defense, but they both can play some offense. And you got some, our guy Gene T is fun to watch. That's just going to be a fun late night game. That's all I'm going to say about that one.
Yeah, Boise State 7.5, over under 64.5. I'm excited about that game. I'm trying to decide if I think Washington State's going to cover there, but I do think that's going to be fireworks. Definitely probably going to jump on some player props in that one if we get some on that one. Not much else out there. Oregon 24-point favorite at UCLA. Again, really mad about them covering against LSU. I still don't know how that happened. LSU, man. I do not think they're as good as people think. If you're going to get on LSU, just stop betting on LSU, but get on Garrett Nussmeier. I would take Garrett Nussmeier over 300 yards and over 2 or over 3 passing touchdowns. He's hit that every game but one this year. He has been absolutely awesome throwing the ball for LSU. Their defense is terrible. I don't understand how they couldn't slow down UCLA, who has nothing. I mean, absolutely got worked by Indiana. At this point, I think Indiana is a much better team than LSU, if that tells you anything about what I think about LSU at this point. Oregon, 24 points. Do you think they can cover against UCLA?
I think they can.
I think so, too. I think it should be an easy cover, which kills me because I said it last time that LSU should easily cover.
Actually, be honest. I think UCLA is no good. I think this number is too small because they hung around with LSU last week, and I think Oregon should throttle them. I mean, they should win this game by 35, no problem.
Yep.
I like where you guys are heads at. Well,
hey, third plums right there.
There you go.
There you go, putting that one up. I appreciate everybody. Thanks for joining us on the show. Check out us every week, usually shooting around about 9:30 Central Time, 10:30 East Coast time. We try to get on as soon as we can with the other shows. And if you haven't liked, subscribed, the Stew with JT Brew or at Fantasy in Frames, go on there. All kinds of show all over Fantasy in Frames. from gambling shows to we've got our hockey podcast Around the Ice. We've also got your redraft, your waiver wire pickups, your dynasty moves. So a little bit of everything for you over there. And then if you're a college football guy, like obviously we are Bet on College Football, the 1 Foot Down podcast every Monday night, where he gives you his plays, his fades, his players to pick up for fantasy college football, and kind of just discuss the college football landscape. So we appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this one. We'll see you next time.
You up on trades and wire moves, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so started institute, make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sifting through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the steward, JT